This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidhui. It's Thursday, May 16th. This is Africa 54.
Presidential campaigning in Malawi enters the home stretch, and the race is tight. A new report reveals attacks against non-governmental organizations across Africa. And the World Health Organization issues guidelines on reducing the risk of dementia. Thank you.
We begin in Southern Africa, where voters in Malawi head to the polls on May 21st. Political observers are predicting a tight battle for the presidency between incumbent Peter Mutharika and several top opposition candidates. My colleague Paul Ndiho examines the race.
Campaigning in Malawi's upcoming election is entering its final stages as voters prepare to elect a president, members of parliament and local councillors. President Peter Mutharika of the Democratic Progressive Party has told thousands of his supporters that he will continue to act on his election premises, convincing his backers that he will emerge from this poll the winner in a landslide. But allegations of corruption continue to hover over his campaign. The government denies the accusations, and Mutharika's supporters appear to be unmoved by the corruption claims.
I just want him to continue from where he has started, because he has been building a lot of constructions in terms of encouraging people in terms of education, in terms of some of the people with careers. Yeah, so I'm expecting much from him.
We are somehow ready. We have seen those people campaigning, and we are ready to vote these coming elections.
One of President Mutharika's top rivals in this election is Lazarus Chakwera of the Malawi Congress Party. Chakwera claims Mutharika is failing Malawian citizens. More than 50% of the country's 18 million people are living below the poverty line. Unemployment is rampant, life expectancy is low, and the infant mortality rate is high. An estimated 1 million Malawians are living with HIV, and over 770,000 children are orphaned, many due to AIDS, according to the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID.
I can't go again to vote for DPP, but for now, I'm going to vote for Lazarus Chakwera because his manifesto is for good for me.
If MEC is serious to produce good results that people will indeed vote for this year, we expect to see a change.
Vice President Saulas Chilema is hoping to win power as head of a new opposition party, the United Transformation Movement. Political analysts say Chilema is seen as the biggest threat to both Mutharika and Chakwera. Chilema has a large following of young people who want change from the current administration.
All Malawians, 3/4 of them, they want change. 60% of the people who are going to vote are the youth. Now, most of the youth wants Dr. Chilema. Therefore, this shows that Dr. Chilema will be our president on 29 May 2019.
Many Malawians remain undecided for whom to vote as president. Zainabu Mangani is one of them.
I can't say I'm ready because I don't even know which president to vote for, because these presidents are all the same. If I give the vote to this person, I don't know if this world will change. Malawi will remain the same because they are a bunch of what can I say? They are all the same. What they know is to feed their stomach. They are not concerned of our lives, and they are not concerned of our welfare.
Voter turnout may be the key to winning the presidential poll, and the real impact of this election will only be known once the ballots are counted. Paul Ndiho, VOA News.
Libyan National Army Commander Khalifa Haftar met in Rome with Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte on Thursday. During the 2-hour talks, Conte expressed his concerns about the conflict in Libya, reiterated his appeal for a ceasefire and to find a political solution to the ongoing crisis. Fighting between Libya's internationally recognized government and Libyan National Army forces continued on Wednesday, about 40 kilometers from Tripoli. Forces loyal to Libya's government are defending the city against an offensive by the Libyan National Army led by Haftar, who accuses the administration of being controlled by terrorists, a charge it vehemently denies. Haftar is supported by Egypt and the United Arab Emirates, but he is denounced by the internationally recognized Prime Minister Fayez Sarraj as an aspiring military dictator. In Sudan, the ruling military council has suspended its talks with civilian protest leaders on a transitional government after at least 8 people were wounded in an apparent clash with security forces in Khartoum on Wednesday.
Therefore, it's our responsibility in front of God, our people, our army, and our revolution to decide the following: halting negotiations for 72 hours so as to create the correct climate to continue the agreement, removing all the barricades outside the sit-in zone, opening the railway to supply the states that have suffered from the depletion of petroleum and supply products.
The barricades were first erected last month at the start of sit-ins that grew from street protests demanding the ouster of former long-time dictator Omar al-Bashir. The military ended Bashir's 30-year rule on April 11th, but the demonstrations and barricades have remained, with protesters demanding the military hand over power to a civilian government. The Transitional Military Council and the civilian protest leaders had tentatively agreed on the main structure of a transitional government before the talks were suspended. The proposed deal called for a 3-year transitional power-sharing agreement, including 3 councils to run the government: Sovereign Council, Ministries and Legislative. The opposition Declaration of Freedom and Change forces would hold 2/3 of the seats in the 300-seat parliament. But there is no agreement yet on which side, civilians or the military, will have a majority in the ruling Sovereign Council until elections in 2022. Now, Freedom House has released a report outlining actions against non-governmental organizations by governments across Africa. The report finds that 12 African countries have passed laws that improperly restricted NGOs over the last 15 years, while 6 more have anti-NGO measures pending. Earlier today, I spoke with Godfrey Musila, a Freedom House consultant who authored this report, and I asked him why the report is being released now.
Now, this is a report commissioned by Freedom House, considering the number of measures, a raft of measures adopted by a number of African governments since 2005 to close down the space for NGOs, particularly those that work on human rights and governance. And it comes at a time when there is a retreat of democracy across the world, and particularly Africa. So the measures against NGOs form part of the measures that a number of African governments are adopting to close down the space for democracy.
What are the key findings in this report?
Now, what we found is that governments are adopting legislation. About 12 countries have legislation. 6 others are considering measures. And in 6 other countries, NGOs were able to successfully push back and defeat those measures that were proposed. Those that have adopted legislation include Sudan, Egypt, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi, and so on. And in countries which measures are under consideration include Zambia, Malawi, Kenya, where the NGOs were able to push back, and government therefore stepped back from implementing these measures, and one expects that there will be some developments in the near future. In terms of the findings, we found that governments are erecting obstacles in the way of registration of NGOs, which of course undermines the rights to freedom of association, to expression, and peaceful assembly for NGOs, which is critical, which is the lifeblood of the work of NGOs in general. We also found that They are limiting the ability of NGOs to receive foreign funding and to hire foreigners. In some countries, in fact, like Burundi, has imposed ethnic quotas requiring NGOs, including international NGOs, to respect those quotas in terms of their hiring practices. Thirdly, we found that the countries are interfering in a very deep way in the functioning of the NGOs. Remember, the idea of the freedom of association is that organizations and associations should be able to do whatever they want within the law without interference. So governments are requiring NGOs to align their programs with government's developmental priorities. In some cases, they're dictating where NGOs, in what parts of the countries NGOs can work. They're dictating what percentages of their funds will be used for programs vis-a-vis operational costs, for instance. So this is, in fact, in violation of the commitments undertaken by these governments. They're using security legislation, cybersecurity, for instance, and the number of countries like Tanzania and Kenya where cybersecurity laws have been used to prosecute activists for allegedly abusing leaders in those countries.
You know, most governments are very critical of these NGOs. Some of them look at them like spies and coming in to do other things or just enriching themselves. But what kind of role do they play in terms of protecting human rights and, you know, kind of championing the civil rights of societies in those countries?
Now, NGOs play a critical role in terms of holding governments to account. Every day you read about corruption in many African countries. So NGOs do hold their leaders, elected leaders, to account, but also promote respect for human rights. There are cases where services are run by NGOs. Many parts of rural Africa, NGOs run services where the government is absent.
Now, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has told investors in Johannesburg that he will use a new 5-year term to speed up economic reforms and fix the ailing state power firm Eskom. This follows the re-election of his African National Congress party, although with a reduced majority. Political analysts say reforms like cutting government red tape and overhauling Eskom should be post-election priorities for the ANC after a decade of slow growth and rising unemployment. The president also reassured investors that the government's land reform policies would not result in land grabs. The U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to announce his long-awaited proposal on immigration on Thursday, a plan that aims to shift the immigration approval process away from one that prioritizes family ties and humanitarian needs. Under Trump's plan, 57% of immigrant visas will be given to individuals with skills or offers of employment, and only 33% to people with family ties. Visas given based on humanitarian needs will be reduced from 22% to 10%. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, new technology helps doctors detect bowel cancer. We'll be right back.
French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. A security flaw in WhatsApp, one of the most popular messaging apps in the world, has allowed sophisticated attackers to install spyware on phones in the latest trouble for its parent, Facebook. The vulnerability was fixed in the latest WhatsApp update. It allowed hackers to install malicious software on phones by calling the target using the app, which is used by 1.5 billion people worldwide. The Financial Times cited a spyware dealer as saying the tool was developed by an Israel-based firm called the NSO Group. Next up, two young designers have gone from picking up trash to picking up good vibrations, upcycling plastic waste into unique and colorful Bluetooth speakers. Tom Meads and Pawan Saunya saw the amount of plastic rubbish left on the beach by visitors to the vibrant seaside town of Brighton. A single speaker upcycles roughly 100 standard plastic bags and sells for $298. And finally, customization has become a trend for the pet industry in China. The Chinese insurance industry is innovating to satisfy the growing needs of pet health care, including apps featuring facial recognition technology for pets. According to a 2018 report on the pet industry, spending on dogs and cats grew 27% to almost $25 billion in 2018. And the number of pet owners increased by 24%. And that's what's trending today.
It's time for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with news on a course that helps to reduce the risk of dementia, right?
That's right, Esther. New guidelines issued by the World Health Organization indicate steps that people can take to reduce the risk of dementia. Dementia is described as a group of symptoms associated with a decline in memory or other thinking skills severe enough to reduce a person's ability to perform everyday activities. The condition results from a variety of diseases and injuries that affect the brain, such as Alzheimer's disease or stroke. Dementia affects memory, thinking, orientation, comprehension, learning capacity, language, and judgment. The WHO says there are 50 million people worldwide currently with dementia, and this number is set to triple by 2050. The WHO says the new guidelines provide the knowledge base for healthcare providers to advise patients on what they can do to help prevent cognitive decline and dementia.
This rise in global numbers of people with dementia and the burden of the illness, as well as the fact that currently there is no cure for the illness, makes it extremely important for us to focus our attention on reducing the risk of dementia. And that's where these guidelines are important. So the advice for the general public is that actually what is good for your heart is good for your brain. So a lot of the things that will reduce your risk for cardiovascular disease, for example, heart disease and stroke, will also reduce your risk for dementia. So doing physical activity regularly, eating a healthy and balanced diet, stopping tobacco use, reducing your alcohol consumption, paying attention to your weight, getting your blood pressure, your blood sugar levels, and your cholesterol levels monitored and treated if they're raised. All these are things that will actually help you with reducing your risk of dementia later in life.
And the WHO's global action to address dementia also include strengthening information systems for dementia, diagnosis, treatment and care, supporting careers of people with dementia, and research and innovation. The international health body recommends that governments to create national policies and plans for dementia. Now, scientists at the University College London are developing new technology to help doctors detect deadly bowel cancer and polyps in their earliest stages and ensure the best chances of a patient's recovery. The system, called Odin Vision, uses a combination of artificial intelligence and space technology for diagnostic precision. VOA's Latika Hawk reports.
Bowel cancer is the world's third most common type of cancer, and the sooner it is detected, the better chance a patient has to recover. But a doctor performing a diagnostic colonoscopy does not always see everything shown on the screen, and smaller details often go undetected.
We miss about 1 in 5 polyps during colonoscopy, and for the second biggest cause of cancer-related death in the UK, that's a big deal.
Scientists say artificial intelligence can see the entire image. It never looks the wrong way, and it never gets distracted.
As the live video is being streamed, our system takes in that image frame by frame, processes it with what we call an artificial neural network, and tries to identify where those polyps are by looking at things like the patterns of in the images, the different coloration of the tissue.
That data is too big and too detailed to be sent via the internet. So instead, Odin Vision uses the communication between the Earth and satellites millions of miles away, where the AI is stored in a cloud and transmits the information back in real time to the doctors who are making a diagnosis. The development of the new technology is in early stages. If it proves successful, the cloud will be accessible to clinics and hospitals even in rural areas, ensuring that every patient gets the earliest and most accurate diagnosis.
AI is essentially putting us at the point where we can ensure quality of service. So we're in essence democratizing healthcare, because we can make sure that you get the best expert type of diagnostic function everywhere throughout our hospitals.
Odin Vision scientists hope their breakthrough program will save thousands of lives and help patients avoid radical procedures. Bowel cancer survivors hope the new diagnostic technology will be available soon.
Hopefully this piece of software will be introduced, and so that my family can get reassurance quicker that everything is all right or not with my own health.
Odin Vision is planning a clinical pilot study in the next 12 months and expects early versions of the technology to roll out in the next 2 years. Zlatisa Hawk, VOA News, Washington.
Laughter is the best medicine. It is a common phrase often found printed on plates or cards, but the practice of yoga has taken it on a whole new direction over the years. We found a laughter yoga class in Richmond, Virginia. Ali Orozkai reports, and VOA's Bezan Hamdard narrates.
A stand-up comedy act? An acting class? No, this is laughter yoga.
I'm a stress magnet, and once a week I get to come in here and act like a nut and laugh and get rid of stress, and it's the best happy hour I've ever had.
Laugh like crazy and reduce stress. That's the idea behind the practice of laughter yoga founded by Indian physician Madan Kataria in 1995. Since then, it has caught on with more than 5,000 laughter yoga clubs worldwide.
1, 2, 3, go for it.
Yoga master Slash Coleman, who founded RVA Laugh Club, was certified through Laughter Yoga University, based in Bangalore, India.
But I lead people through laughter yoga exercises, and that involves different games that we play to move the body in different ways so we allow oxygen to like come into the body in different parts of the lungs.
Coleman established this club after he discovered the benefits of laughter.
And my right lung mysteriously collapsed. I was living in New York City at the time, and I spent a month in the hospital. And after the doctors did 2 surgeries, they said that laughing would help my lung to heal because it would help the lung expand.
Participants come to his class looking to alleviate stress and gain some health benefits.
I just get to be a kid again, you know. It's just silliness and connection. I mean, you know, so much fun. Most of the days, people are kind of grumpy. You know, you work in an office, you see a lot of this, right? But it's nice and light. I enjoy it.
Coleman believes that laughter is also a tool that can bring people together.
Laughter is this like universal language, and we are bonding with each other in here from all religious backgrounds. Like, you know, I'm Jewish, and that we've had people, Hindus come in, and people that, Christians and Muslims, and none of that matters.
Laughter yoga is no joke. A technology-ridden world has seemingly contributed to a spike in stress in daily life. Health experts agree that increased stress is one of the primary threats to the day-to-day health, and battling it with laughter and calmness is essential to preserving a healthy body and mind. For Ali Orogzai in Richmond, Virginia, Bejan Hamdard, VOA News.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Linor Moudou. Esther, there you have it, a reason to laugh every day.
No, it makes me laugh. Now, I want to know why you're laughing in the first place.
You know what? For me, I try to take life I try to find humor in everything, right? So I try to keep my laughter at all times, even when it's difficult.
For example, here in the studio, anything that tickled you today?
Anything that happens can make me laugh.
Whether it's the camera lighting or something that...
Even when you stumble on your script while reading,
which
you can
I was
laugh
like
about
my mom. She had an infectious laughter, and then she would laugh. When we start laughing, she asks you, why are you laughing?
But it's good for you, so that's the takeaway. Laughter is a good medicine.
I think we're going to work on that. Linor, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Be sure to watch Linor Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a good evening and laugh if you can.